Dear Sega, well, I'll be. You actually made a better game. I mean, I knew you would, but to this degree? Not to mention the adorable new edition. I must say, the future of Sonic is looking very bright. But of course, let's focus on the present with your latest game, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic 2, releasing on November 21st, 1992, was the follow-up to Sega's big hit Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic 1 was huge at its time of release. It was expected that a sequel would be made. At the time of its release, Sonic 2 was also huge. Sega made a big deal out of the release of this game, claiming the day as Sonic Tuesday. This game was hyped up and with good reason. It improved on every aspect of the first game. The gameplay, the visuals, the music. Hell, they even turned what was a very basic story and made something somewhat big out of it. With that segue finished, let's cut. Sonic 2 again follows another basic plot. Dr. Robotnik is once again trying to kidnap little critters and turn them into robots. However, there is more to it this time. Not only is Robotnik just trying to make robots, he's trying to take over the world. As seen throughout most of these levels, these beautiful landscapes are turned into machinery and grossness. His machines are becoming more and more advanced, but this time you have the help of a small little companion. Yep, this game introduces Miles Tails Prower, or Tails for short. This small little fox follows you throughout your adventure. While he doesn't do much now, Sega does use him in the gameplay department for some things. For now, however, he's just someone to follow you on your adventure, to stopping Robotnik. The game truly takes you on an adventure, with a huge climactic ending that only leaves you wanting more. Nowadays, it's still quite basic, and by 1992, more platformers had included a story. However, Sonic still stood slightly above the bar against the competition. However, once again, you don't go back to play Sonic 2 for the story, you play it for the gameplay. Sonic 2 improves on everything Sonic 1 did. Sonic is so much faster now, especially with the inclusion of the spin dash. Pressing down on the D-pad and destroying the A button, Sonic will rev up in a small little ball form. Once you let go of the A, he spins off at a high speed that he'll go right up the screen. Most of his moveset is the same from the first game, this being the very welcome new addition. The second game has a second very welcome addition, Tails. While not as fast as Sonic, Tails can do something very different. Using his two tails, Tails can fly. Of course, for a short period, but it is possible. Along with this, he can also spin dash. The gameplay was mostly unchanged, as it didn't have too much wrong with it to begin with. However, some new additions really add to the feel and style of the game. Along with this, the addition of Tails also adds a new way to experience the levels. Sega also added co-op. Two players race each other. One as Sonic and one as Tails, using each of the characters' moves to sets to their advantage. It does make for a basic but fun time. Nothing I'm too excited to jump back into, but something to do while I hand my brother the shitty broken controller that's been smashed to shit. But even with these new additions, the part that really ties it all together is the level design. However, Sonic 1 failed at this, so it's something I'm weary about, but let's dive in anyways. Oh, thank God. These aren't awful. Don't get me wrong, Sonic bullshit still exists in these levels, but by God, do they just improve on what was good in the last game. The levels actually impose a sense of speed on the player. I didn't talk about it in the last video, but Sonic 1 had 3 acts, with the last act usually being the longest and hardest, followed by a boss fight, something that just made it even harder to play the game. Knowing that I wasn't even halfway over with the game just made it so hard to play. However, in Sonic 2, it's only 2 acts with a boss fight at the end of the second one. Holy shit, does this make the game so much better. Not only that, but we can have more zones now, which we do. And by God, did Sega do so much into these zones. Hell, these could be whole games on their own. So many iconic zones. Casino Night, Hilltop, Wing Fortress, and of course, Chemical Plant. God, chemical plant is just so good. I could play this zone specifically over and over and just never get bored. It's such a good way to show off Sonic's speed while also having fun platforming challenges. Sonic 1 could only dream of being this good. The zones are so beautiful and full of fun platforming and moments where you actually get to go fast. This time, however, it's not just a matter of when the level wants you to go fast, but if you know what you're doing, you can stay fast the whole way through. It's truly a huge advancement over the previous title, and something that just makes it easier to want to go back to this instead of the first game, despite the first being where it all started. They truly took something that had huge amounts of potential and just made it better. I wouldn't say perfected, that's for later, but the improvements cannot go unnoticed. What makes it even better is the music that plays while you plow through these zones. Returning composer Masato Nakamura, having now gotten familiar with the Genesis hardware, was able to now make a soundtrack that just knocks the old ones out of the park. It's so much more detailed and vibrant, which matches the game's visuals. Suddenly, Nakamura's idea of scoring the game like a film is being realized. Suddenly, the game feels more alive. The story is able to come to life because the music is just amazing. It truly does take these already amazing zones and makes them so much better. Along with that, the sound design is once again amazing. There's not much to talk about here, the music is just better and is truly a step in the series, but we still have the animation to talk about, so let's do that. Sonic 1's animation had to be dealt with carefully, and they nailed it first try. So, what do you do when making it better in the sequel? Simply put, you don't. While yes, there are minor differences in the actual running, jumping, rolling animation, it's mostly untouched. If they did, they'd run the risk of ruining what they had, and that would have been too big and it would have cost them a lot of money. Instead, they changed other animations. His idle animations, the animations that play when you're near a ledge, those little things, the things that help the character show expression when a lot of platformers at the time didn't. Of course, the new animations are Spin Dash and Tails. Tails didn't have to be dealt with as carefully, considering A, they already had a foundation, but B, he was slower. His thing was flying, obviously, but they put the time and effort into making sure he looked good flying, but for the most part, Tails didn't have to be dealt with as carefully as our blue blur. That being said, the animation remains mostly the same. That's okay though, because it was good in the first place. Not a lot had to change. I find that Sonic 2 took what was a good foundation and made it better, and that's obvious. There are so many things that are done so much better here than the first game that it's hard to go back to it. I love Sonic 2 so much more, and I just can't get enough of it. It's got so many things that are so much better. The visuals are a big one. They made this game look so vibrant. Each zone is so unique and special, and it's truly a step up in the series. Plus, we started seeing the introduction of some slight 3D in the series here, and you know, that's something that's just really cool to see. In conclusion, Sonic 2, while not perfect, is damn near close. The game improves on everything Sonic 1 did in a way that hasn't been seen in the series since Sonic Colors and Generations. The game truly does provide a better experience, while pushing Sonic forwards in the video game landscape. He was truly at the top. Sega, you've done good. Now, you could stop right here and be done with it. However, I know you won't. But by now, I truly do expect these next two games to be something I could only dream of. My expectations are high. Don't fuck it up. Sincerely, a disgruntled Sonic fan.